So it's early spring, we're at the Golden Ring viewing platform. We're going to carry out some lawn renovations today. We're mainly using organic methods and try and be as environmentally friendly as possible. We do want to have a really nice lawn here with nice grass and it can be managed organically. So as I said, from a distance it looks like it's a nice lawn, but I can see some problems with the lawn. There's some nice big broadleaf weeds here. There's some smaller weeds over here. We're going to deal with those by hand weeding out some of the bigger weeds and then scarifying out some of the smaller weeds. And by doing that, we're going to reduce the thatch layer, which is the dead grass layer that's kind of formed over time. We're going to scratch that out with a rake and get rid of some of that thatch layer and some of the weeds as well. And over here we've got a little bit of moss. Now the moss is an indicator of a poor drainage, so we're going to scarify out the moss and then we're going to spike the whole lawn as well. When we finish with that, we're going to top dress the whole area. There's a lot of lumps and bumps, and what we want to do is to create a nice level mowing surface for the summer. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is give it a nice cut. So we want to be working with a really short grass when we're scarifying and spiking. It's quite long, so I'm probably going to do it at a high cut and then a lower cut as well. So now we've cut the lawn really quite low, we can see that there's quite a few big broadleaf weeds into the lawn. So we're going to just simply dig them out with a penknife. So it's quite easy. You want to try and get as much of the taproot out as possible and just gently dig around. Try not to make too big a hole so you're digging up loads of the grass as well. So gently try and just grab a few of the leaves, and hopefully if you gently tease them out, cut down around, he should, here he comes, wiggle out, tamp some of the soil back down, he should wiggle out. So I did cut out some of the taproot, but I think it's inevitable sometimes. You're going to get some of the taproot stuck still in the ground, but that's pretty good. And if you do a nice coverage of grass anyway, that'll soon prevent the weed from coming back too. So there you go. So we're going to go through this lawn and just dig out as many of these big ones that we can without making too much of a mess if we can help it. So the next job is to do a bit of scarifying with the springbok rake. It's just a simple case of dragging it through the soil and putting quite a bit of pressure on it to really get into the top layer of the soil and through the grass. So we're trying to remove the moss and some of the thatch, which is the build-up of sort of dying grass that forms a horizontal sort of layer underneath the main grass stems. So already from this little bit of scarifying, I'm getting up quite a bit of sort of grassy, mossy, weedy stuff that's not going to help the grass grow if it stays. So we're just removing that and giving it kind of almost like a seed bed to grow on in the future. So what we're trying to achieve here really is like a vertical cut through the top soil layer and through the top grass layer. So by cutting with the springbok rake tines, we're actually slicing through the horizontal growing bits of the grass and the thatch layer. So that's the idea really, and it's really good practice to turn around and do it at 90 degrees to the cuts you've already made with the springbok rake. So I'm going to now scarify at 90 degrees to how I've already scarified. In that way we're making sort of like a chessboard pattern throughout the grass. And we're going to pick up lots and lots of debris. I'm going to tidy up all the debris afterwards and then I'll give it a light blow to remove anything else. So now I'm just using a simple garden fork just to make some holes into the ground to improve the drainage. So approximately every 6 inches along the lawn, I'm going to push my fork in, so about that far, 6 inches down probably. Don't wiggle it around or anything, just straight down and straight back up, then move on to the next hole. In this way we can kind of aerate the soil so that the moisture can percolate through and air can get into the soil environment as well. And when we come to top dressing, we're going to be brushing some of the top dressing, the sand top dressing, straight into these holes as well. So that'll fill up nicely with a sandy mixture and help to improve the drainage long term. This will help combat things like moss and the thatch layer. So the next stage of this lawn renovation programme is to put down a bit of top dressing. So we're using just sharp sand. You can use a mix of 30-70 soil to sand ratio, or you can use just topsoil depending on what you need. But we want to improve the drainage, so it's quite a large area and sharp sand is quite cost effective to do some top dressing on a larger area. So we're just going to use sharp sand. We're going to fling it out in a kind of even pattern if we can. It's important to use fairly dry material, otherwise it won't really spread very well. And then just give it a little bit of a sling out. And get a nice base layer all over the surface already. We can easily go back over it later. So what we'll do is we'll brush some of it in and then we'll do another top dressing layer on top of it. What the final aim is, we don't really want to smother the grass. So we want to have the grass poking through the top of the top dressing, and you can always top dress more the following year or the year after that if you need to. So it may seem a lot of sand, but what we're trying to do is to level out the area, bring up, get rid of all the lumps and bumps in the surface. So I'm raking it in a little bit. If you remember back to the spiking, I'm also trying to work some of the sand into the spike holes as well, so they fill out. So I'm just gently going along with a rubber rake, just working it into the topsoil, to the top layer. I think it's going to take a few years of constantly doing this to get the levels actually perfect along the edges of this bit of lawn, but we can do a bit at a time. You can see the grass starting to poke through. That's what we're aiming for. You don't want to absolutely smother the grass. So I'll put down a little bit, quite a lot in these corners, because I want to build up the levels really. You can see in the centre here, it's kind of the grass is poking through, which is fine. It is quite heavy in these corners, but it will be all right. It will grow through quite happily. Using this sharp sand is lovely, but you must make sure it's clean washed sharp sand, not just builder's sharp sand. And the last job I'll do here is I'll get the back of a landscape rake and use it to make the area level. So these landscape rakes are really good. On the back of the tines you have like a cutting blade along the top, and you can use that with the rake upside down just to create a nice level flat surface as you drag it over the soil or the sand. So this will be our sort of finishing level, and then we'll put some grass seed on top of that. So the last job we're going to do today to renovate the lawn is to sow a little bit of grass seed down. So I've used just a general purpose grass seed. It's a hard wearing mix of mainly ryegrass and a little bit of fescues. Fescues having quite thin sort of more fine leaves, and the ryegrass generally used for things like football pitches. So you know, it's going to be a nice hard wearing and lush green growing grass, this one. And the advantage of this seed mix that I've got is it does germinate at quite low temperatures, down to about 5 degrees. So even in the middle of March we can get some germination rates in it quite quickly. So I'm hoping it germinates over the next couple of weeks. So it's about 35 grams a square metre, and for this sort of area I'm just going to sprinkle out by hand. I just use a nice sort of wrist action there. Just sprinkle it out. A handful of square metre is roughly about 35 grams a square metre, so that's about perfect. It's nice to go gently around the edges and just sort of like cutting in like you're painting a wall. It's quite windy today, so I'm trying to do it quite low down, or else it all flies away. So now I'm just giving it a gentle rake in, just trying to work the grass seed into the soil a little bit. After I finish raking, if there's no rain after a couple of days, I'll come down and give it a gentle water in. Hopefully it will rain.